again, affirmative action is a Washington plan that was designed for the whole country, and you just have to deal with it wherever you're at. I think there should be safeguards, but again, you know, if you're going to put one criteria above others and say that this is most important, I think that in itself is inequitable. But again, I philosophically agree with equal opportunity for all.
I am in favor of continuing. I was in the United States Marine Corps. We did not have the inequality that is oftentimes the case out in the private sector. When I came out of the service and moved back to my hometown of Slater, a friend of mine, a fellow officer in the Marine Corps, who happened to be of color, who happened to be an African American from St. Louis, he and his family came to visit us. And we went to the drive-in, to Moore's Drive-In. Now, I didn't remember, but it was not to be that blacks could come into the drive-in. But no one would challenge me, because I was the one who was accompanying the person into the drive-in. And I will continue to exert any effort I can to see to it that we have equality, and I thank you for the opportunity on that one.
Affirmative action is a federal program, and so it's nothing that the state has any control over. We can't support it or we can't oppose it. It is something that is basically thrust upon us. That being said, I'm opposed to it. To me, I think our country was based on a free enterprise system. It was based on that the best and the brightest are those that are accepted into, whether it be educational opportunities or into other programs, and to create a false way for people to get in, I don't think is good for our society nor for the institutions that they're trying to become a part of. Does that mean that if people aren't accepted that they have no way to serve or go to school or to be a part of the society? Absolutely not. There are many other opportunities, and that does not prevent a case where a university could have certain slots that are reserved for economically disadvantaged or certain genders or certain races, and so those opportunities are out there. But I think if we create a false quota, if you call it that, to allow certain people to get in and certain people to get out, I don't think that's good. And I certainly understand the young woman in Texas who had great scores, was worthy of getting in, but couldn't get in because people had lower scores, but they were from a certain quota group, got in ahead of her.
I guess by way of contrast, I would always want to be found standing in defense of individual rights under our Constitution, and affirmative action, causes of action should still be there to allow persons of any minority or any race or any gender to sue for retribution of their rights, a violation of their rights for education, discrimination on the job, or in bidding. It's always a matter of access to justice, and I don't think we should ever be known for denying that in the United States.
Once again, it's kind of hard to speak for somebody, but I do know Ron's always been for civil and equal rights, and I would say he would probably support the continuation of affirmative action.
Start back down here.
I really don't know how he would answer this.
Fair enough. Yes, I would support capping interest rates on these types of loans. One question that was sent to me, I would probably support a lower rate than that. 10 or 12% is plenty of interest. But this predatory type lending is something that does need to be regulated, and I don't think it would be hard to find agreement that this needs to be capped.
I think you need to be careful when you put in state statute a certain interest rate. My opponent just said 10 or 12%. Well, back in the early 80s, interest rate was 21%. It was a horrible time that we went through, but that was the market. And so, do you want to come back every year and change the state statute based on what interest rates are? That's a bad thing to do. Payday loans are very, very regulated in our state. We have done a lot in the last few years to make sure that you can only roll those loans over a few times. There has to be an opportunity for consumers to have a second look and say, no, I don't want to do that. And so the way payday loans are structured, they have a $500 maximum when you are actually getting a loan out, a $500 maximum, and you can only roll those over 6 times. And so there are certain regulations that are in those. Quite honestly, there are people that have no other opportunities to get a loan if it wasn't for payday loans and places like that. They are folks that are unbanked and really have no other place to go. Banks themselves, for the most part, don't issue small loans right now because of the excessive regulations of Washington have put on our banks, and so sometimes that is the only place where people can go to get some funds.
Well, I am in favor of capping the interest rate. I would say we have to be careful that we don't have to make adjustments. I think it would be dreadful if down the road the standard interest rate was 36%. But I would be in favor of it, and I would always be in favor of helping the underprivileged.
A lot of times with government policies, what we intend to be helpful turn out to be just the opposite. We could go through a whole string of economic policy examples in the history of America, and probably in the state of Missouri. But in essence, markets work best. People who are in this situation, probably more than anything they could use is some financial education. And there are opportunities around communities for those who are short on cash, help with utilities, help with food, and that sort of thing. So I think that would be a much better path than an artificial cap.